We are buying this rookie in every league, and when we say that, we mean it literally. We're going to show you the proof today. Get those trades ready because we're going to pull them up today. But we are going to buy this guy in every league. We're going to let you know who it is. It's the mystery player. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got rookie content coming out the entire offseason now. We've got 3-4 full months of content to fill, and we promise that we're going to give you accurate, up-to-date content. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video, like I said, Nathan's dumb thumb. And make sure you go over to the locals page. That's where all of our exclusive content is, including our Discord. You can be a part of our Discord community. That's where we all get to hang out. You get exclusive access to all of our trade advice, things like that, rankings, ADP. So make sure you head over there as well. All right. So this is a guy who we will not admit that we are biased or we are homers in this, but this is a guy that was projected to go higher in the draft than he did. He fell down draft boards. He's a wide receiver, rookie wide receiver that fell down draft boards that honestly most people had him graded as a late first, early second round pick. He ended up falling to the third round where he was selected by the Indianapolis Colts, and we're talking about Josh Downs today out of North Carolina. So Josh Downs, he played 3 years there. He was pretty freaking productive at North Carolina. And again, the big surprise was that Josh Downs was supposed to go in the top 2 rounds, and he didn't. And this was a little bit surprising, I think, to everybody, but it was especially surprising to the Colts. When you watch the Colts and you watch their with the next pick series, so that's going to give you a little bit of a view into their draft room. You saw their reaction when Josh Downs fell to them. They were actually trying to trade up to get him when he made it out of the second round, or even when he was in the late second round. So this is a guy that Reggie Wayne, who's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, future Hall of Fame wide receiver, called maybe the best receiver in this class. He's going to be coaching Josh Downs now. And now we're looking at Josh Downs.
It's not a Steve Smith situation.
Right. A little bit different because he's actually a coach. Yeah. And now we're looking at Josh Downs, and we are literally buying him in every single league. Simon has been the... So here's the thing about Simon. When Simon gets hooked on somebody, he will literally trade for him in every single league. Like there's no...
Well, it doesn't hurt to send out trades in
There's no moderation. How many shares of Josh Downs do you have now?
Oh, man.
Out of 15 leagues. It's got to be 11, right?
I think
he has 11.
All right, talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing in Josh Downs and why you think he's going to be in fantasy.
This is insane.
That is insane.
I'll
throw it up. We'll throw it up on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
But talk to us a little bit about Josh Downs and why you think he's going to tear it up from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah. He broke out at an early age at North Carolina. He was technically 20 during his sophomore year, but he had a 38.7% target share.
Smokies.
That is insane. That means, he is getting open almost every single play. And then when you talk about this guy going in the third round to a team that's been pretty good at developing wide receivers historically, yes. Who only really have one dominant, or not even dominant, they have one good wide receiver right now, and that's Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce is decent. And then you throw Josh Downs in there with a new quarterback who's going to get better and better. And if you pair him with this other guy, they're both rookies. I could see them developing a really, really strong bond there. And the thing is, we're big advocates of taking Anthony Richardson at the 102. If you have Anthony Richardson and you're going 102 and you're taking him there and you're investing in him, it means you believe in Anthony Richardson and his ability to improve and be a successful NFL QB. If you were at the 2 slot in your rookie draft and it makes it around to the second round, I personally think you should be taking Josh Downs at the 102 every single time. If you believe in Anthony Richardson, then why not take Josh Downs, the guy who he'll be throwing to? The case can be as simple as that.
You're essentially just doubling down on your bet there.
Yeah. The very simplest. We're not even talking about Josh Downs and the talent that he has.
So I think a lot of the confusion has come from, Indianapolis has Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman's taking up the majority of those targets there, and Josh Downs is not going to get any targets.
And the AR's rushing upside will impact the receiving game.
We are Colts fans, so we reserve the right to pull the "we've watched every game" card, and Nathan's going to pull that card. Why is that just complete and utter nonsense? The fact that either Josh Downs or Michael Pittman wouldn't benefit from each other.
Because Shane Steichen just came from an offense where they had a QB with very significant rushing upside, and he supported 2 wide receiver ones and a elite producing tight end in the same offense. Oh, and Miles Sanders, who was very, very good last year.
Actually decent, yeah.
So you take that OC and you put him on the Colts, and you develop a QB like AR whose upside is literally the sky, and you pair him with Michael Pittman, who is going to be he's a big body, kind of a deep threat. He can do some stuff in the intermediate game. That's not.
He had a 25% target share last year.
He's a target hog. He really is. But with Josh Downs, this guy excels in the slot, and we really like Franchise Guy. We've talked about him a lot. He's a YouTuber that does a bunch of analysis on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Shout out to him. Want to do a collab with him. But he said, honestly, this is crazy. From an NFL perspective, he thought the gap between JSN and Josh Downs from a slot wide receiver perspective is not that significant.
Not 3 rounds. Not 2 rounds.
Not 2 rounds.
He knows more.
Yeah.
He knows more than all of us.
Yes.
And you watching. He knows more than you.
And I think a lot of the reason for this, going back to the target share, as a sophomore having dang near 40% target share on North Carolina, like that is what you look for in wide receiver prospects going into the NFL. You look for that significant target share early on. One of the reasons so many people were low on Rashee Rice is his breakout age was so late, and his significant target share, his dominant target share, came as a senior in a bummy conference where most of those guys are going to not be in the NFL in that conference. Now you're looking at a guy like Josh Downs, who's playing in the ACC, a very respectable conference, and in his sophomore season, 40% target share. I cannot stress enough how incredible and how important that is for Josh Downs as an NFL prospect. On top of that, that was the year that Sam Howell was supporting him. We don't love Sam Howell as from an NFL perspective. As a QB, he went in the 5th round, but there is something to say that, he's probably going to start for Washington going into this year. He's probably going to be a starting quarterback, which means he's starting caliber in the NFL. And imagine what Josh Downs can do with a QB whose upside is infinitely better than Sam Howell's.
Yeah, he did play with Drake May last year,
right? Which is why his production went down.
Yeah.
And Drake May is going to be a really good prospect going into next year. But again, it was a weird in between because Josh Downs is being phased out. He spent all that time with Sam Howell growing all of that chemistry and stuff. And not a knock against Drake May, but you've seen that before.
And I just want to say one other thing about him in college. One thing you look for in these wide receivers in college is, do they have other players on their team on that same offense that also went to the NFL, because it means he's not just beating out bums. That same year that he had a 40% target share, he played on the same team as De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome, and neither of them have been good, but both of them were selected.
De'Ami Brown,
they're NFL guys.
They both were selected in the NFL draft, and so he's not just beating out bums. He's not just beating out guys who were walk-ons to the team. He beat out 2 guys who went to the NFL and were older than him, and he had a 40% target share on the same team.
And Michael Carter was on that team.
Yeah, and Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
So it was a very good offense. He was dominating.
Let's look at this from another angle as well, because you look at...
And Sam Howell was a QB.
Let's look at the Colts in the past and then what they're going to look like now. So you look at the Colts last year, and you've got the typical Chris Ballard wide receiver prototype, and even Frank Reich a little bit, but you've got big guys on the outside that can high point the ball really well in Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce. And really, they were designed to complement each other on opposite sides of the field, and they wanted these big guys. You had lineups like Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce and Jelani Woods and Mo Alley Cox, and you're like, oh my gosh, how do you guard this? The problem really with the Colts, and where you saw huge holes in their game, was that they had no slot receiver that was actually capable of finding holes in the defense and then making plays in the middle of the field and working in the middle of the field.
They wanted Paris Campbell to be that, and
Paris Campbell just never was. Paris Campbell was more of what Josh Downs actually isn't, and that is hurt and a deep threat. And really, they used him kind of as a gadget guy. How I expect them to use Isaiah McKenzie a little bit this year.
Yes.
So now they're going to have a little bit more of a clear role defined for Josh Downs. What they have been missing is somebody who can line up in the slot. That's a crafty route runner and that can find holes in the zone and work against the man fine and work the middle of the field for Anthony Richardson. When you look at Anthony Richardson and where he's better throwing the ball than not, it's going to be the middle of the field. You watch him work the outsides, you watch him work the deep ball. You obviously see that there's still going to have to be some work to be done with Anthony Richardson. He's still developmental. Everybody knows that. But what Anthony Richardson has been decent at is throwing over the middle of the field. That is where Josh Downs is going to be. Josh Downs makes a living in the middle of the field, and he said it himself. He said it in an interview this last week. I am going to. He's like, he literally says, I love working in the middle of the field. Like, that's my favorite place to be. And I think you see it. You know, he draws comps to T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton was that slot for the Colts for a long time.
I'm liking that comp more and more too.
Obviously, the difference is the speed, and so
again, though, it's a tenth of a second, which I get is, you know, significant in 40 time. But Josh Downs is, I mean, he's pretty speedy on film.
Yeah, he's got good on field speed.
He has real game
speed.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he ran a 4.48, which isn't too shabby.
Yeah, and I think Ty had a 4.39. But that's the best part about Downs going into this offense is he's not a one-trick pony. So while he is going to, I would assume, primarily be in the slot, he can do things over the top, and that's why we like the T.Y. Hilton comp so much. And honestly, why I think one of the main reasons the Colts drafted him is because I mean, why did they keep overpaying T.Y. Hilton to stay longer than he should have? It's because they needed him. They needed that type of receiver to be that short and intermediate threat to, at points, just blaze past the corners and the DBs and the safeties and just get that big play opportunity. We haven't had that in forever. So that's it's just another plus with him. He's very versatile.
Yep. And just one more thing that I have. Rookie wide receivers, their value goes up. There are two rookie wide receivers that came to mind immediately for me that were going in the early second last year. Both of them had a 16% target share. Jahan Dotson, 15.9% target share last year. George Pickens, 15.6% target share. George Pickens, this time last year, April, right after the NFL draft, was the wide receiver 50 in ADP. Jahan Dotson was the wide receiver 52. Right now, a year after they were drafted, George Pickens is the wide receiver 25 in ADP, and Jahan Dotson is the wide receiver 30.
I like
Both of them had 16% target shares, and they just flashed some good plays and some explosive ability.
It's not going to take
Jahan Dotson
much.
is going to do the same thing, and he will climb inside the top. Oh yeah, Josh Downs. He will climb inside the top 30 wide receivers in Dynasty. Just a year from now, I guarantee it.
Wow. Ooh, guarantee. So look, what do we expect from Jahan? Well, what do we?
I'll get to ring the gong this time.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about
we
that.
Get the gong here. We're buying a gong. We legitimately on order tomorrow on Amazon. So, what do we
our takes.
Yeah. What do we expect from? We got to get a mic for it. What do we expect for?
Someone come back and comment on this video in a year.
Dude, if we're wrong, we're gonna look so bad. But from Josh Downs, what do we expect?
I don't care.
I expect Josh Downs. Honestly, this year, what I would expect from him is to be somebody who gets a lot of targets. And I know that it doesn't mean anything, but Josh Downs' first day on the field with Anthony Richardson, the Colts insiders and scouts, all they could say is that Josh Downs was getting a super heavy target share. Today, he was working in the middle of the field. He got a bunch of Anthony Richardson's targets. This is what I'm going to expect from him in his first year. Again, I think Josh Downs will instantly be one of his favorite targets. I think defenses are still going to be primarily concerned about Michael Pittman. It's going to leave Josh Downs. Josh Downs is going to be able to work the middle of the field. Anthony Richardson's going to be able to find him in the middle of the field. I think that he's going to be one of those guys that maybe doesn't have a ton of explosive plays for his rookie year, but he gets a ton of targets and therefore a ton of receptions. Yeah. That's where you get the points. When you're playing in PPR leagues, you want heavily targeted dudes, and we believe that Josh Downs, with his ability to break down a defense, is a guy that's going to get a lot of targets and therefore a lot of receptions, and that's where his points are going to come from. So points per game wise this year, I mean, George Pickens had, 10 points per game or something like that?
Let's check.
Jahan Dotson had something
10.9 for Jahan Dotson and 9.8 for George Pickens.
We'll go 10 points per game for Josh Downs. I think.
Yeah.
Are you guys comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely comfortable.
That's 5 receptions for 50 yards a game, or a touchdown sprinkled in.
And based on those guys last year, he could move up 25 spots in Dynasty wide receiver rankings.
And look, are we homers about
Absolutely.
something? Yeah. But here's the thing. Josh Downs has been a my guy for a year. I liked him last year.
Downs.
I had him in Devy leagues. I really have enjoyed watching Josh Downs and seeing him develop as a prospect. He comes from a football family. Again, this is the guy that
his dad was in the league.
Yeah, this is a guy that by most people's standards was graded to be a higher pick than he was. So although the biggest argument against Josh Downs is going to be the fact that he's a third round pick and the hit rate for third round pick wide receivers is going to be lower than, say, top 50 picks, and that's totally understandable. Again, I think this was just a rare situation where you had a guy that was a pretty safe. I mean, there were a lot of people that thought he was pretty safely going in the top 40 picks. And even though he didn't, I'm not sure that. I mean, there's just so much here that points to, even the type of competitor that Josh Downs is. You saw the video where he got drafted, and if you haven't, go watch it. It's awesome.
You'll like him immediately.
We heavily believe in Josh Downs for this year. And look, while this is a little bit more of a risky thing to say that he'll be a top 30 dynasty wide receiver, we're calling our shot. So, Josh
You guys
Downs,
don't have to associate there.
hey, I'll go with you, buddy. But I want to know some of the trades you've made this week for Josh Downs. So these are the type of trades that I haven't even been able to get somebody to accept my trades. He's gotten 11 of them. So go ahead, Simon Boy.
Yeah, Cam Akers for Josh Downs is one.
That is so easy.
Smash. I even if I weren't a Colts fan, that's a smash. Like,
yeah. We're notably low on Cam Akers. This one, I don't know what you guys think about. Dalvin Cook for Josh Downs. I wasn't competing on that team.
I don't care. Yeah, on
Took Josh Downs.
Team, take Josh.
One of them is going to be valued 5 rounds higher next year, and the other one's going to be Leonard Fournette.
Are you getting Dalvin off your hands for an early second? Were you going into the draft?
Yeah,
you were getting an early second for him.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, I don't know if you were there in that league.
That's what I'm saying. In our community, like, was that even possible? Because I think Dalvin was kind of being valued a little less than that.
Fine. That's fine value, dude.
Yeah.
What else? How do you forget all of them?
A second and a third in 24 for Josh Downs, and that's a team. You did the same exact trade.
I did
that's
a 24 second and a 25 third.
Yeah. You did one for Charbonnet and had Charbonnet and Mayer in it, right?
Oh yeah. I sent. Oh, I don't remember that one.
Pull it up.
Why are you looking at them?
Then you talk while I pull it up.
So obviously, when we're talking about investment here, like, you're sending guys that are not. I mean, you're talking about Dalvin Cook and sending a second next year. So you're buying really, like, again, you're buying pretty low on Josh Downs when you consider what his ceiling is.
Josh Downs in a 24 second for Calvin Ridley and a 23 third.
Yeah,
I liked that, and a lot of people probably won't, and that's okay. I guess from a market value perspective, Calvin Ridley's being, he's equivalent to a late first right now, and I think he's way overvalued. And honestly, the Jags kind of just re-demonstrated what they want to focus on when they drafted, even Parker Washington in the later rounds. Like, they just keep loading up at receiver because I don't think Calvin Ridley's going to be that guy. I think just like the Chiefs are probably going to spread it around a lot, and the guy who's going to be the focal point in that offense will be the slot receiver whose 95% of his snaps are in the slot, and that's Christian Kirk.
Hank Bixby. Go.
In that last trade, the one you wanted me to turn up was I got Michael Mayer and Josh Downs, and I sent Alec Pierce and Zach Charbonnet.
Money, dude.
And we're notable fans of Zach Charbonnet.
And Alec Pierce.
And I think Zach Charbonnet is a really good handcuff, but I think, as we just discussed, Pierce's target share is going to go down with Josh Downs in the offense. And Michael Mayer was just someone who is a really good pickup for me in that trade. So.
All right, yeah, so those are the kind of deals we're making for him. So, again, we're not telling you to go get him in 11 or 15 leagues like Simon did, but even going and getting a couple shares and trying to test the market for this guy is definitely something I'd recommend. What?
Don't, don't go into the comments and say, because we've already addressed this, where I'm addressing this now. Don't go into the comments and say, well, Michael Pittman or JT or Josh Downs, one of them's going to have to take a hit, and one of them isn't going to be a super high-producing fantasy asset. Again, don't forget what Steichen did in the Eagles' offense. No, Anthony Richardson is not even close to Jalen Hurts yet, but the point still stands that the same type of offense that he ran for the Eagles is going to be relatively the same type of offense that he's going to run for the Colts, and that can support multiple producing receivers in that offense. And the Colts don't even have an elite tight end. They don't have a Goddard to deal with. So really, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs all producing at a high level in the same offense is not a tall order. No, it's not too much to ask in an explosive
And we're not saying
offense.
they're both going to be top 12 receivers. Pittman's probably going to be a wide receiver 2 like he normally is, and Josh Downs is probably going to come in somewhere slightly behind that.
But in the early second, that's worth it.
Yeah.
That's
if you're betting on
it.
Anthony Richardson to improve.
Go get some shares. Just trust us on this one. We don't call our shots this hard most of the time, but we're going to call it on this one. So we like Josh Downs a lot. Let us know what you think about Josh Downs in the comments, and make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got rookie content coming out all summer long, all offseason long. It'll be really interesting as OTAs get started, as we get into a little bit more of going through practices and seeing how things are going to shake out roster-wise and getting into preseason territory. Preseason's kind of the avoid everything at all cost territory, but it'll be interesting to see how everything shakes out. So make sure you subscribe.
Central.
Yeah, it might be this year. And make sure you head over to our locals page. It's where all of our exclusive content is. We appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.